condemned for the crime of witchcraft in the Old West. And so as she's being condemned for the crime of witchcraft, she then begins her transformation from a beautiful woman to the terrible green witch, and she curses the people of Calico that in the bathing of the moonlight they will turn into the monsters that they truly are on the inside. The dead will rise from Boot Hill, and the town of Calico streets will run red with blood and be choked by the smoke and fog of the underworld. That is the story of the Green Witch, Sarah Marshall, and that's why Haunt is always connected in some way, shape, or form back to her story. And we're also going to have a little nod to our newest maze, Grimoire, in there. All right, let's go ahead and take a step inside. Women's tour guests, lend me your ears. This is where they condemned Sarah Marshall to the hangman's noose. So this is our first room to simulate the Calico Courthouse that we have down the way. Judge Roy Beans. Now, Judge Roy Beans is one of our small little factions that basically, if you're a huge fan of Knott, you know exactly where Judge Roy Beans is. It's right next to the Stagecoach Ride. We have some references to the Stagecoach Ride in here. That right there is actually a Stagecoach costume. Our Stagecoach operators are getting that costume right there. We also have a few characters in here that are dressed. This costume in particular, you don't see out until Christmas time. And that's a small nod to the fact that this room becomes Santa's cabin in Christmas time. Just a small little sort of weird nod to that.
You put Santa on trial?
Yeah, of course, all the time. He's breaking into all these people's houses. So this right here, if you look and see this little sticker right here, that's because they're about to change the lights right there. The techs know we're going to be in here today, so they just set that up so that way, before they come in, boom. Now this is the jail cell. This is where Sarah Marshall sat and awaited her trial. Now right there we have a small little homage, October 31st. That's about. Oh, they just
slash marks.
Those are just counting the. Now everybody take a look at that mirror behind you. That mirror has also got a LED screen behind it that shows you Sarah Marshall in her transformation. Also repeating a curse. Now I'm going to show you guys a great scare tactic that we have in here. Now you would assume that because these are metal bars, people are just going around banging on the bars, screaming. But another thing we do that surprises people a lot is we just go ahead and let the bar go. We just go ahead and let the bar go, and people think the bar's about to fall out at them. That's a tremendously good scare tactic. Plus we have these little hiding holes right here. The guys can reach through. They can even burst out of this door, come out here and come and get you. That's one superb way we use to scare people. We scare the pants off you like that. Then we've got these bodies around too. It's a distraction tactic. While you're staring at these awful, gory, bloody bodies, we're skulking around the room. We're scoping out our prey. That's a distraction tactic. We love doing that, especially when we create these big, expensive sets. That's another distraction tactic because you're looking at, ooh, they built that in here? Ooh, my goodness. Boom, we get you again. So it's all for a purpose. Not just storytelling, but it's for the purposes of scaring the pants off you. That too.
Has anybody ever had a heart attack?
Has anybody ever had a heart attack at Haunt? Yes.
Really?
Every Halloween event has always had someone who's had a heart attack in it, and it happens every couple years. It doesn't happen every single year. Now we built this room with tons of references to our actual schoolhouse, which is right across the way from this particular maze. Right in it. I know we all can't fit in this room.
So this is all because of the curse?
Yes.
I see.
Now, we used to have a rule back when the Knott family was alive all the way into about the mid-2000s. We used to have a rule. No devils, no demons, no dead children.
Well,
We've since broken that rule
Sorry,
many
Walter.
times. These children entirely aren't dead. They're just cursed. This is the school teacher, school marm. Oh, that's dead.
Yes. One.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We need some more pictures. Yes. All right, so this is also a photo op room if anybody wants to take photos. I don't particularly like taking photos with corpses and people who are here to mourn. I'm not a mourning person. We'll be traveling through this maze for 3 glorious nights and 7 wonderful love-filled days. Just okay, so this is
See you in the fog.
Yes, see you in the fog.
Oh,
This is the
nice.
mortuary. This is our basically we're connecting back to some of our monsters of Ghost Town. Now this is a Pepper's Ghost effect, and there is a LED screen, a plasma screen right up here that'll shine down through the glass. Now we have one other Pepper's Ghost effect. Well, we had 2 other Pepper's Ghost effects in the park. We have the Undertaker's office, which is over by Fireman's Barbecue, and we also have the Mystery Lodge. The most famous Pepper's Ghost effect around today in Southern California is, of course, the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Oh, I almost choked saying that. So we have that effect right there, and it'll be the Ghost Town bride. She'll appear above the coffin, and she'll look like she's crawling towards you. Now, if anybody wants to take a picture around here, feel free. Selfies, things like that. We have the Undertaker right here who's pulled his own heart out.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes the next day after haunt, you will find tons of jewelry, money, watches, phones, wallets, IDs. Yeah, all the time. I could Calico Saloon. Now they're not all one-to-one size recreations, but they're very impressive. And so we'll have water effects, sound like thunder, lightning, and flashing lights. And in these windows, we will have projections of Calico monsters fighting in a saloon fight. Now this is a real carriage that we made for, this is a real carriage that we built for Dominion of the Damned a few years ago. We got plenty of use out of it for the last few years, and then we decided to bring it right on back for Origins. And if you look down this way, you'll see a mirror at the end of the maze. Now that mirror is a particular type of mirror. It doesn't reflect us very well, especially since it's so high up. We put a lot of stuff in it so it won't reflect us all too well, but it reflects the rest of this set. So it'll just look like the set keeps going and going and going, like we've built a never-ending ghost town inside of a limited space. So it's a very easy, very simple trick that we pull, just so it makes the space look that much bigger. And the sound effects, lighting, and even the dripping rainwater will add in all of that. It's all about the way. It's not always just about the way you dress the set. It's about the way you expand the world by adding things that a normal setting would actually have. Most normal settings don't have witches and corpses, but hey, we're working with what we got. Come on in. It's supposed to be a hanger right there. Well, everybody, welcome to the Golden Trails Hotel. Welcome, welcome. The Golden Trails Hotel is a perfect place to get some rest, kick back and relax, especially if you're dead tired. Hardy, hard. People were smaller back then.
Yeah.
The average height of an average male American, I think back then, was only about 5'5", and the average weight was only about between 120 and 150 pounds. That's why people like Wyatt Earp become such legends in the Old West, because Wyatt Earp was over 6 feet tall. Oh my God, he was a giant. So that's why he became such a legend in the Old West. He was not just a peace officer. For the time, he's an incredibly tall man. So we have here the Golden Trails Hotel. We've used a lot of old props and set pieces, but some of these actual props and set pieces come out of the actual buildings of Calico. So when we restore some of the buildings, we put in new set pieces. This fireplace was actually in the Golden Trails Hotel. These bird cages were all at one point. Dead horse is dead horse. What'd you break? You broke it. You
Poor guy.
broke it. Oh, it's just down.
Oh, it's supposed to be down.
Yeah, it's down.
Great.
So we have some of Sarah Marshall's cohorts hanging right here, just hanging out. Now these particular characters actually are used with some costumes from The Hanging. Ah, yes. Anybody here ever seen The Hanging? Yep. They're used with some costumes that we used in The Hanging. This is a simple costume, but they're very, very tough. They have to be able to go through all the stunts and fake blood and stuff like this, and especially these guys right here. These are perfect costumes because people are gonna walk by them and they're gonna grab them and slap them and start pulling on them and shaking them and stuff like that. And that's why this tree is also reinforced. There's a steel beam inside that tree. So that's why these guys right here are wearing hanging costumes and things of, they're just hanging out, you know, things of that nature. And whose face is this one? This one is Mackenzie again. Ah! Oh, Mackenzie. And who's this one? This one is, I believe, might be Rissy. That one might be Rissy. We have some of our characters who do things, who will basically just come in and the shop will ask them, hey, can you do a face mold? They've never asked me. You know, I think it's just, I'm just too pretty for them. Just too pretty. We're gonna go into a homage to the Haunted Shack now. We have our ever-dripping pipeless water, which in the dark you won't be able to see the rod that's holding it up. That is actually just the vent fan.
Oh, I thought it was like a bat or something.
This building's very old. This building's almost as old as the park itself. Now in this room we have a few homages to the rest of Ghost Town. That anvil is an homage to the blacksmith shop. The pumpkins are a bit of an homage to Pumpkin Eater and the fact that we put so many pumpkins around the park. Almost all the pumpkins, if a pumpkin is not carved here at the park, it is a real pumpkin. Real pumpkins can actually stay alive for up to a year as long as you don't carve them. So some of our pumpkins aren't saved over from last year. We typically just buy a bunch of brand new pumpkins, but we buy at least, I'd say, over 2,000 pumpkins every single year just to decorate Ghost Town alone. The rest of the park requires thousands more. From varying sizes, from the very small, I think some of our biggest pumpkins weigh well over 500 pounds. And right here we have an homage to our first haunt host, Seymour. Aww. On all his glory. This is the way we pay homage to the good Seymour Vincent. Everybody give him a round of applause. Oh. Now we're heading down underground. Sarah Marshall is making her escape so she can survive the townsfolk of Calico and she can try to grow her power. Now that creature right there is actually is a recast of an original haunt monster mold that we had laying in the storage area. Now you can still see the pink creature roaming around haunt, but it's a more updated mold for the monster. We recast that from the original molds. Now all of these skeletons and gooey things you can see in here, they're actually from a maze we used to have where Pumpkin Eater is today called Slaughterhouse. Come on in, come on in. Now every single one of these mirrors has an LED screen behind it showing you the transformation, a gradation if you will, of Sarah Marshall going from being Sarah Marshall to the full-on is where you would find the Green Witch live in person. Now, it is inhabited by all of these static figures and a few actual live actors. Now, every single monster in this room is meant to represent an actual haunt monster that you can find out on the streets. So for the first time ever, there are some monsters that you will have doubles of in the park. That almost never happens. There are some characters where only one person will... Sorry, Pony Express is right behind us. We make do with all the space we have. Here it comes again. And back to it. Okay. So we make do with all the space we have, like I said. But there are some creatures out there where another person has never, ever played that character. Some of these monsters were created by the people who play them. So the makeup patterns, even the costumings were created by the people who play them. So whenever you see a very unique character out on Ghost Town streets, it's very likely that that person, that costume, that monster was their brainchild, and it is carried over into the Knott's Berry Farm lore for Haunt. Now, the reason why we oftentimes in our mazes do our rocks like this, it's an homage to Bud Hurlbut, the creator of the Calico Mine Ride and the Timber Mountain Log Ride. It keeps all the mazes consistent with the aesthetic of the park. With our two attractions, the Mine Ride and the Log Ride, they use chicken wire and gunite to create the effect of the rocks being jagged and smooth in certain places. In nature, you don't really find a whole lot of rocks like this unless there's a lot of water in an area. Ghost Town is obviously a desert, so you wouldn't have a whole lot of rocks like this. But these are made out of foam, chicken wire, and just a lacquer paint that basically hardens on the outside, so you just can't punch through these things, as people have attempted to do. All the paint was fresh last night. Now people have already started chipping at them. Now, has anybody gotten to go through Grimoire yet? I know a few of you, yes. This is the Grimoire. You saw it first last year in Invitation to Terror. We have brought it here to ask the question, where is Sarah Marshall getting her power from? Is she using the Grimoire to curse the rest of Calico, or is the Grimoire using her? Is the Grimoire really connected to her that much, or is the Grimoire connected to the rest of Knott's Scary Farm as its own little pocketed universe, sort of a 7 layers of hell thing, you know? Or are there supposed to be more layers? I always think of 7 because I like cake. All right, come on in. And we have a sled that we used in a former Christmas event. I named the sled Rosebud. All right. Now, we at Knott's Scary Farm have a weird history with giant hands. We have a lot of mazes and attractions that involve giant hands. This one is a recast from a attraction called Black Widow's Cavern, where we would have a giant hand slowly creep out and sort of reach out for the passengers on the Mine Ride train. Now, that hand was made completely out of polyurethane and styrofoam. So, unfortunately, a guest got a little too handsy, smacked the hand, smacked off the pinky finger. And then they were able to reattach it after a couple days, and then someone then smacked off the middle finger. Then after a couple days, someone smacked off the index finger. Pretty soon, the hand was just fingerless. So we would just have a nub reaching out to people after a couple days. So that hand actually still exists. That hand got moved over to Dark Ride. And the hands that have all the knives sticking out of it, that's where they got some of the inspiration for that. Because people just kept knocking fingers off of the hands. We've always had just a weird fascination with this kind of stuff. So as you walk past this giant effect, it'll reach out and grab you. Still in there.
Oh.